Ponyfans.com here inside with wide receivers coach Jeff Reinebold. Thanks to the cold and the rain this morning. Coach, at the beginning of the year, you talked about Aldrick Robinson becoming not just your deep threat, but more of an overall leader. How has he progressed in that role this year?
He's done a good job. Al has learned to practice better. His habits in the weight room, his habits in the meeting room, his habits on the practice field have all improved. I think he's taken a leadership role. Al does it within his own personality, which is unique in itself. So I've been happy with him. He's played well on the field, and he's done well off the field.
Obviously, he's still a home run threat. He's got great speed, and he leads the team with nine touchdown receptions. But you've talked about him becoming a more well-rounded receiver. What did you mean by that, and what has been the biggest improvement in his game this year?
Well, I think his ability to do the little things well. How you play away from the ball, how you block, how you run routes, when we're running a draw, how you run people out of there. Al has gotten tremendous compliments from the NFL scouts that have been in on how his game has improved. He attacks the ball better in the air than he has in the past. He's become a guy that will make a play with the ball in his hands after he catches it. Both of the long plays in the game against Tulane came after he had caught the ball and had to make a guy miss and then run away from people. So I really think that, the fact that, for example, an NFL team has their cross-check scout in here today, which means that at least one club thinks he's a draftable player, and they're in here writing him on a national basis. That really speaks well for what he's done.
Speaking of the long plays at Tulane, Kyle Padron was quoted after the game as saying on that 82-yard touchdown, he wasn't even throwing to Al. I don't know if he was trying to just throw it away to get away from pressure, but if he's not the target, how did he end up with the ball on that?
Well, it was just one of those freaky deals. The ball sailed out of Kyle's hand, and he was trying to throw the sail route to Beasley underneath, and the ball sailed. Al saw it had sailed and came back, caught it. The safety took a bad angle, and after Al gets it in his hands, there aren't very many people in America that are going to catch him. So, every once in a while you got to get lucky. Now, he's had an awful lot of time, Steve, where he's been free in the season, and we haven't been able, for one reason or another, get the ball to him. So, obviously it's like they say in baseball, they all even out.
Cole Beasley leads the team with 55 receptions, but when you look at the quotes that other coaches and opposing teams, opposing players say when they're talking about SMU, they talk about Aldrick Robinson, they talk about Darius Johnson. How does a leading receiver get overlooked?
Well, I think it comes down to the fact that Cole's probably not quite as flashy as those guys are. Al's going to, he's going to excite you, and if you're a defensive coordinator, he's going to scare you with his speed. Darius, with his ability to make unbelievable catches. Now, he made a tremendous play in the Tulane game on a ball that had broken down, and Kyle just kind of threw it out there to him. He made a play and got it upfield. He has tremendous athletic ability, but Cole is a little bit like our Wes Welker, if you will. He's a guy that's going to catch a lot of balls. He's going to catch a lot of intermediate balls, and he's a guy that's become very, very reliable for us. And it's interesting. We went back and did a statistical analysis after 8 weeks, and we're actually better than we were last year at this time. And you think, well, you've lost a playmaker of Emmanuel's quality, you're going to take a little step back. But as an offense, we're throwing and catching the ball better than we were last year.
Does Cole enjoy that, sort of flying under the radar a little bit?
I don't know if he enjoys flying under the radar, because he's a competitor and he wants to be recognized, I think, as a guy that's a valid guy. And that'll come as he continues to make more plays and catch more balls. And you battle when you're a 5'7" guy, and you battle expectations. And he's fought through an awful lot of things to become the player that he is. I'm awful proud of him.
One guy who has sort of emerged into a bigger role lately is Brad Haines. Ever since he got here as a freshman, you could look at him and tell he's a big, strong guy. But what is it that you saw either in games or in practices that made you think now's the time to make him a little bit bigger part of the offense?
Well, when Terrence wasn't able to come back, we knew we had a void that we had to fill. And Brad, to his credit, has played a number of different positions here. He's been a tight end, he's been an inside receiver, what we call an H, he's been a wideout. But every place we put him, he's always made plays. And he battled through a hamstring in training camp, wasn't healthy for probably the first 5 weeks of the season. And as soon as he got healthy, he started to emerge a little bit. Now, it was really difficult for him in the game against Tulane when he dropped that what would have been a sure 70-yard touchdown pass in the game. But that's part of playing receiver, and you have to bounce back from that. He's had a good week of practice, and I expect we'll go down to UTEP and he'll make the plays that we'll ask him to make.
You mentioned this week you're going to El Paso to face UTEP. El Paso's 3,300 feet higher than Dallas, and you and Coach Jones traditionally run 4 receivers all day long. How does the altitude affect what you're going to do? Do you rotate more, or how can you try to simulate some of that fatigue in practice?
Well, there's nothing you can do to simulate it in practice, particularly because of the fact that we can't jack the stadium, the practice field up to 3,300 feet for the week. So, you go down there and you don't make a big thing out of it. I think when you go into those high elevation cities, whether it was Laramie, Wyoming, or Salt Lake City, Utah, or any of the places that we've played in the past, you can make so much out of that. It gets inside the kid's head. We're just going to go down and do what we do, play and let all that other stuff take care of itself. El Intercepted Paso is a tough place to play, and regardless, and they play well at home, and I'm sure Mike's going to have them ready to play this week. They've lost 3 games in a row. They know they're fighting for their lives right now. And, I know Mike Price, and I've competed against Mike Price since he was the head coach at Weber State back in the early 80s, and he's always had his teams ready to play.
Last year, SMU clinched bowl eligibility with a win over UTEP. This year, you have a chance to do exactly the same thing. How is your preparation different this time, considering, A, you've been there, so your expectations are a little higher this year maybe, and B, it's on the road?
I think, it's a little bit different, a couple things. Number one, June gave the kids the day off after the Tulane game. He has a real good feel for the pulse of the team and what they need. I think that day off has helped them. We come back a little fresher. We're starting to get a little nicked up at this point. Now, the weather today hurt our preparation, frankly. It was very, very difficult to get anything done productive on a field that's as wet and cold as it was today, but, that's our reality right now. So we have to go down there and go in there with a mindset that we're going to play against a team, like I said, that is fighting for its life. And they're fighting for a bowl win. They're fighting for a head coach. They're fighting for, respect, all of those things. And we can't go down there thinking we're just going to roll the balls out and UTEP's going to fold over and blow away. We have an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done at this school since the early 80s. Now, we've already put 2 back-to-back, 13 wins in 2 years. I don't think that's been done since the early 80s. So now we have a chance again to go to a bowl game for the 2nd year in a row, and that's a huge accomplishment when you consider where this program was when we walked in the door 2.5 years ago.
Last one, going back to the Tulane game a little bit, the offense was sort of stuck in first gear for the first half, a little bit of the second half. All of a sudden, it clicks. From a coach's standpoint, what changed and what did you see that leads you to believe that might carry over this week and beyond?
Well, from a simple standpoint, we stopped laying it on the ground. We had to take that first drive and we take it right down to the 5-yard line and get a ball knocked out that, we should have been up 7-0. Then we have 2 drives early in the game that we miss a field goal on and we come up short again. There's no reason why we wouldn't have scored 28 points in the first half based upon our drive production. What's a concern for us offensively is, you have 520 yards of offense and score 31 points. You really should be at 50 points if you have 500 yards of offense. And we have got to learn somehow. And again, I don't want to snake bite us, but you got to understand when you are minus 12 in turnover ratio like we are right now, you're going to struggle. I don't know if there's another team in America that's minus 12 in turnover ratio and has won 5 games. Now, we found a way to win, and that's the good thing. The bad thing is if we don't take care of the football better, then we get into these games with UTEP and Marshall and East Carolina and hopefully a CUSA championship game and a bowl game. To win those kind of games, you've got to take better care of the ball.